I'm Jay Percy,
and welcome to the Afro Animist Podcast. We are two Abia women and animist conjurers exploring witchcraft, healing and psychedelics.
The Afro Animist Podcast explores the secular through the spiritual, discussing life experiences through a sacred lens.
Here you'll get to hear talk about philosophy, metaphysics, occultism, shamanism, culture, healing, nature, animism,
the arts, conspiracies, psychedelics and witchcraft. Nothing is off the table in these discussions, which aim to get to the heart of what it means to be spiritual and Afro-diasporic in an increasingly sterile, authoritarian and Eurocentric world.
As Afro-Caribbean millennial Londoners, we keep it real whilst exploring the biggest mysteries of our multiverse. Join us in holding this space to cry, laugh, debate, build community and tear down oppressive structures.
I don't know how the rest of it goes. Hi and welcome. Welcome to the Afro Animist Podcast.
Do that again.
What, the bass
yeah,
line?
with the music.
Hi and welcome to the Afro Animist Podcast, and you are here today on our first filmed episode with me, Jay Percy the artist,
and me, Nicola. So excited to be here today again.
Very excited to be here today. I hope this does go out as a video. I hope it actually records and saves properly.
Me too.
So this whole beginning section actually makes sense in context. And if it doesn't, we apologise to you in advance. You still have us here with our voices.
Yeah, just have a bit of understand we're millennials, we're very good at technology, but sometimes technology is difficult. Like your video right now is...
Sometimes technology is not good with us.
It's not good with us, yeah. Okay. What are we talking about today? Because we've just come straight in with the opposite of what we should have said about that.
Well, today we've got an episode which we think will be titled Manifestation, Be Careful What You Wish For. We had a bit of a chat yesterday in our planning session as to what we actually wanted to talk about today, which we have a whole list of episodes, and funnily enough, this one wasn't one from the list. It just got put on because we both have something to say about it, and we wanted to talk about money manifestation to begin with. And then Nicola kindly pointed out to the both of us that are we the best qualified people at this point in time to talk about money manifestation. I have manifested money in the past, and it's been pertaining to opportunities or amounts around the sort of 1,500 mark, perhaps a specific job. But maybe we don't feel so confident because we're not necessarily where we're aiming to be. Yeah. And I don't think we're aiming to be rich so we can buy a gold yacht. It's more like comfort and be able to...
I wouldn't necessarily say no. If someone wanted to give me a gold yacht and the money to run it, I don't think I'd say no. But it's not necessarily on my list right now.
I did look up if there are solar yachts, and there are. So suddenly that sort of eco-luxury can maybe be in my scope. I know maybe solar panels aren't the best even. What is good energy? I think we're going
Wait, no, but
here.
Hang on, no, but I need to understand about this. So you're telling me solar panels aren't good?
What? Oh, no. Apparently in about 25, they've got a 25-year life cycle. It might be longer. Okay. I don't know. But basically, when they're done, they go to landfill, and we don't quite yet have the methodology to getting rid of... So at the moment, we're creating we've got a solution to oil, but it's not really a long-term solution because in about 100 years the world is going to be now littered with solar panels made from lithium, that were mined by Congolese children.
Oh my God, I need a break already.
It's an earth fun.
It's like every day something else. I said this to Jay before we started. I was like, every day it's like you're just unpicking like another facet of society that doesn't make any fucking sense. I genuinely thought,
In what way am I contributing to fucking the world today?
basically, I literally wanted to buy myself one of those like, they're like these solar paneled. It's like almost you stick it on the window and it's a plug, so you can plug straight into
Yeah.
that. And I was like, oh, that would be a great idea. And now I'm thinking, I don't know, what do I do?
No, you're cruel, you're terrible. You might as well be pouring oil down a whale's throat, you horrible, horrible human.
My boyfriend has this obsession with like when we own like our amazing plot of land in our house, he wants to like put, I don't know, gyros and stuff in the toilet and things like that. So every time you flush it, it creates your energy. I don't know, he probably wants me to have a treadmill that I'm running on to make dinner. Like
while you watch TV, like hamster.
And to be honest, I'm starting to think maybe they are the best options at this point.
Yeah, kinetic energy. It would spare you a gym membership. Every time you watch TV, you'd get the urge to move. Eventually, you'll be like just programmed to be a moving, creating machine. Was that whole episode of like Rick and Morty when they're standing on the like switches?
Oh my gosh!
They're like, no, it's not. It's not slavery, Morty. They make energy and pay each other.
Yeah. What?
Isn't that just slavery with extra steps?
What? Slavery with extra steps.
That whole Rick and Morty episode. Anyway, we are definitely going on a tangent. We're talking about manifestation today, and predominantly be careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. I think I have a couple of things to say about money that I have manifested, but or situations that I've manifested. I do have a few of those, but I also have like really raw and recent examples of like, be careful what you wish for because it might just come true and it doesn't necessarily take the route that you would like it to come because you've not been specific enough in your manifestation. And what even is manifestation, Nicola?
Oh. Manifestation is pulling into your life or reattuning to the frequencies of the things that you desire or want. I don't know if that's the best explanation. It sounded quite technical. I think
I like that explanation.
I think it's really important to understand, like in what you're saying, for example, be careful what you wish for, because manifestation isn't like the way that I started learning about manifestation was like, you know, The Secret 15 years ago, whatever, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to understand that actually manifestation isn't just something you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to manifest this thing. You are constantly manifesting, constantly. So whatever, you know, so this is why it's really important to start to develop an awareness of what your kind of internal voice is saying to you all the time. Like I have a massive issue with that. I know that the majority of the time I'm most likely manifesting situations that aren't the best. You know, like I can walk down the street and have like, I was saying to Jay, I was having yesterday, she sent me off with some homework to do. I never did the homework. But what I did do was have an epic debate with myself in my head, you know, and it's just like, what are you manifesting if you just spent like 45 minutes arguing with yourself?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's that inner dilemma that you're focusing on instead of the bringing forth to light this thing that you want to create. But I guess, yeah, isn't this all a part of like toxic positivity, saying that you're the one constantly manifesting situations?
Wow, this is the tangle that you can tangle yourself up in, isn't it? And possibly leads on to like a whole other episode. I think this is, you know, this is something that I'm still working on, if I'm honest. Like I'm not sitting here today going, hey guys, let's become super master manifestors. I mean, I would love it if we all could do that and we all have potential, but it is fucking hard. And there's these different aspects of things that you have to realize about it. Like at the moment, there is this whole culture of you know, we're so spiritual and we're so deep, and everything that's possibly happened or could happen to us, like we have made that choice and it's in our soul contract and we are here. And if your life isn't what you want, then it's because you're thinking the wrong thing. And, you know, all you have to do really is just like think positive.
Eating the wrong
And
foods.
you're like, come the fuck on. Like that's our toxic positivity. It's, you know, the
Yeah,
reality.
I think we should do a whole episode on that in itself.
I'll just,
Yeah.
yes. But like, so I think it is really important to kind of break this down, because like I'm saying, even for me, I
Mm,
struggle with that quite a bit. Even something you said to me yesterday where I was like, whoa, 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 whoa,
mm,
whoa, don't put the fault on yourself, Jay. And then you came back with this beautiful explanation of
mm,
what that actually was for you. It wasn't that you were placing fault, but there was an aspect where you
mm,
were taking responsibility. And I think that's what it's
mm.
about. It's very easy, especially with our limited English language, shall we say, to kind of go, okay, well, that means if you don't have what you want right now, that means that it's your fault. You could have what you want and you're not thinking the right way,
Yeah.
so you don't have what you want. And it isn't black and white like that. It just is not.
No. And I think it's very important you said the word fault and
Mm,
pointed out that English language is limited. There are so many feelings. There are other cultures who have like 50, 60 words for snow. And if you think about what each culture is going to put emphasis on because they have in their you know, public psyche or individual
mhm,
psyche, that's going to manifest the language. And the English language isn't very good for explaining magic. It isn't very good for explaining manifest. Um, it's very good for placing bits together to get whole sentences or paragraphs that more directly dig down into the detail of what you're trying to
mhm,
say. But there are no like individual words. Like, what can we replace fault with? There isn't anything I can think of
mhm.
right now we can replace fault with. So we say, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't be saying it's your fault. Um, and maybe expressing that you've had involvement in this in some way, emotionally, subconsciously, preconsciously. Maybe that's a better way to put it, but it isn't that one word. It's like a whole collection of words
Exactly.
to explain it.
Exactly.
And we will definitely talk about toxic positivity on a whole episode because I do feel like it. We could just do this whole session on that and explaining how it works, how it doesn't work. Um, is it beneficial? Is it not? Like, I feel like that could suck up so much time. But in terms of like manifesting and you saying this is something we're constantly doing, I do agree with you. When you make the cognizant choice to interact with the world in a specific way, um, and you're like high and happy in your feelings versus low and depressed in your feelings, I've I've been on both
Mhm,
sides. I've been on extremes of both sides, and there is a difference. There is a marked difference, and I do feel like what I have manifested in the past has been through it's either been at the time I was feeling, and I think the emotions are important to sort of say what I was feeling while I was able to manifest successfully. I was feeling like hopeful. No, maybe hopeful's the wrong word. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I could see the thing. Do you know,
mhm.
like it was as real as you are in front of me on a computer screen right now. It was that real. It was that visceral. Um, and or it was almost like it wasn't quite like an arrogance. It wasn't nearly as far as arrogance, but it was definitely like a confidence, like an overconfidence. Like, oh, I know this thing is going to happen. Like pretty much. I just feel this is something that I've maybe like a sense of deja vu, if that makes
Mhm,
sense.
mhm.
Like, yeah, I've lived that. I know I've lived that, which means I'm going to live that. I know how to insert myself energetically into that space. Is that making
And that makes a
sense?
lot of sense. And I think actually there's a way I would describe that with one word, which
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily work for people with that explanation. Like I would call that faith, like real, true faith. Like when you're
Yeah.
sitting, I'm not talking about, you know, your faith in Jesus, but it's the same thing. Do you know what I mean? That feeling of
Yeah.
undoubted, like for sure, that thing is real. There's no
Yeah.
question or doubt about it. That's just the reality of the
Mm.
thing. And that is
Yeah.
key. Obviously, we know with manifestation that being able to sit in that feeling of it actually being a reality in your life when it's not a reality, or as I like to call it, fake it till you make it.
Mm.
So we do have all these things in life that give you these clues, like, you know, from I was little, and obviously I'm in the arts, so there's a lot of that going around, like fake it till you make it, act like you're what you want to be before you're, you know, 20 years before you're even there. So it's interesting, we have all of these things around that actually do tell us what to do. But yeah, I love that I love that explanation. What can you...
I think it's interesting you bring up your acting, actually, or the arts, because I always like this idea of like actors going method, but then you've seen where it's like culminated in, especially where actors go method on characters that are particularly depressed or depressives, and then the next thing you hear is like this actor has unfortunately taken their own life. How much does essentially embodying an archetype actually affect the soul to that level where you manifest like the visceral reality of what would have happened for this character at some point? That's always been really chilling to me.
Oh, I totally hear that. And like, you know, it's it's one of those interesting things about the art forms. I think if you're an artist and a creative, being able to tell those stories and tap into those places, tell them in a real way. And obviously we do have these techniques in acting where you're going to go full method. And and the things that actors do to prepare for those things it is literally like you need to step into someone else's shoes. We used to have exercises like that at school where you imagine your character and then you literally start walking in their shoes. It's like a kind of physical exercise. And I mean, one thing that I would say about that is because I started training as an actress from 14, I have always kind of had this feeling that that wasn't the healthiest thing for me to do. And it's fine for some people, but for me personally, I don't think it was the healthiest thing to do. Actually, for probably most young people, because at that time in life is when you're finding yourself, you know, when you're starting to decide what kind of human you want to be, what kind of adult you want to be. And for me, I found that playing all these different characters and having lots of stuff going on in my life, so maybe actually kind of running away into that place of storytelling, I think wasn't the most mentally healthy thing for me to do. And it meant that when I was in my 20s, I felt like I had to go on a completely different journey. I have seen people, you know, I'm like 16 years old in school, having tapped into a character where, you know, whatever drama's happened. And to be honest, like when you're learning acting, it's all like tragedy. Like it's all like the darkest stuff. So you've got like the 16-year-old doing a play, and then, you know, they've got to a really dark place in the play, did an amazing job, and then 2 hours later they're still crying. And it is very difficult. It can be very difficult to separate yourself. But then I also...
Well, they're literally manifesting that archetype within
100%.
themselves.
And I found in my career, that definitely there were many times when that felt really bad for me to do. So a lot of the roles I got when I was younger were like, they weren't roles that... I don't feel like I've ever played a character that is 1,000% of the character I would want to play. Like they've always kind of like, you know, just that standard kind of mixed race bitchy girl, or like a fucking, you know, or some...
I know her.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to school with her.
Exactly. I've met her a few times.
I was her.
No, don't tell anyone. You know, and or like an abused woman and things like that, and things actually that have been quite close to my experience in life. Now, when I've had to do those roles, it's been the hardest for me, and some of that I think is why I had to step away from doing it, because there was a point in time when, you know, I'm just filming this short film where I'm a trafficked woman, and I'd had really recently an experience of sexual assault before that. But at the same time, I was trying to look into my healing and kind of separate myself from the dark places of that. And so having to then go back into that and do it for a film, it really fucked me up. Like it really did. And it made me go, okay, well, do you want your mind to be in these places? If these are the roles you're getting right now, obviously you're not manifesting anything fun. Like, so do you want this to be what you're doing? And I had to have regular breaks from acting because of that. So I think it's really interesting that you bring it up, because I think there's probably, I mean, acting is quite a specific thing where you're being somebody else, but there's lots of reasons in
I
life for
think
where we would
acting
do that.
is,
If that makes sense.
yeah, I think acting, no, I just think acting is a brilliant example of, I don't think people see that it is a brilliant example of manifesting, because essentially what you're doing, it's like, it's so animistic at its core. You're jumping into an archetype, you're jumping into a character, a spirit that's not yours, that's not of your soul, or not necessarily of your complete breadth and width of experience in your life. And it's what we do when we go talking to trees, right? We're jumping into their psyche, we're jumping into that auric field. So that's why I would bring up acting. I do think it is one of those overlooked things in terms of spirituality. But if you look a lot of if you're going back to like chromanti play in Jamaica, where they're sort of like, having drums and this idea of like taking on spirits or jumbies or things like that. That is, I don't want to say that is acting, like, to disparage it, but I think there's similarities between how you tap into those like brainwaves, if that makes
I
sense.
totally agree. And I would just say that was channeling. And
channeling,
there you go.
That's
that
the
way,
word I'm looking for.
I've had that experience a lot, and I've met a lot of actors who that's what we believe we do. If you're tapping into those spaces, because a lot of time you'll get a character, they're not based on like a real person or whatever, but you're channeling into, like you're saying, an archetype or an aspect of humanity or humanity's story. And so a lot of people feel that way, and there is a place that you hit. Now, as a creative, as an artist, I'm sure like there's a moment when you're in your art, when you're deep in the process. It's like there's nothing else could come in. You're fully within that. You're like in the lane of that frequency, and you're channeling completely the art that you're doing. You're not even thinking about the next brushstroke. It's the same, and there are some, the actors who, we could look out of our generation and think are phenomenal I couldn't separate it from channeling. They are channeling something important to kind of show us. And it is like a phenomenal skill, I think, to storytelling. It's one of the most important. All the arts I feel like are the places, they're like the most ancient things. Do you know what I mean? So music, art,
And they're most ancient, and for me, they teach us the most about manifestation.
100%, yeah.
A lot of the time to do these things, you have to show up repeatedly and practice the thing, right? You don't. Leonardo DiCaprio didn't just jump on screen and be a great actor.
No.
It took practice. It took showing up repeatedly, constantly.
Showing up, having no fear. Like, that's also another thing, I think, that can bring you to a place where you can be a great manifester, is being able to, it's not like that you never have fear, but it's that you can work with, or you can work through that fear. Like, that fear doesn't stop you. What's the breaking down the initials of fear? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I do know what you mean. What does fear stand for?
I can't believe I've forgotten that.
We have the Google to do this.
Google.
What does...
Forget everything and run. Forget everything and run.
False.
No?
Forget everything and run. False evidence appearing real.
False evidence appearing real.
Forget everything and run. Yeah.
There we go. I fucking love that one. False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
Just to think about fear like that.
Yeah.
I think could really help you
like,
kind
what
of move forward.
Afraid of?
Yeah. I mean, don't let me bring that list out now. No, we're doing that. So tell me, Jade.
I mean, fear...
I was just going to say, like, you've said about manifesting, like, it's little chunks of money or certain situations. Like, can you give us an example of one of those times?
I absolutely can. It takes me back to the age of 15. It's when I, no, it's when I first started really getting involved in trying to understand what witchcraft was, because I started to, like, you've all heard the story of my diary where I was experimenting, and then it was the run up to my birthday, and I thought, right, people go on about astrology. Let me look into this. So I googled some stuff and sort of found out the week running up to that birthday on that particular year was a particular powerful time for manifesting money. So if I wanted to do so as a witch, now would be a time to be like doing my spells and manifesting. And I did. I set together a really simple spell. It was something like salt, olive oil, water, and I put a load of 5 pence coins in sort of this jar with the water and the oil and the salt, and I just laid my hands over it, and I sort of told it what was going to happen for the week, and I had a candle lit, and I was sort of imagining what would happen for the week, that money would just be coming in. So then on my birthday, it was my 16th birthday, I played my first lottery numbers, and I think I got something like 50 quid. So I was like, oh my god, this is so great, the manifesting is working. And then I ended up going to like a club night, and I won, so bizarre, I won like a whole case of like Coca-Colas, just like a giant crate of them. I've never drunk fizzy drinks, so I like gave it away to someone, and I won a bike, and I gave that away to a friend. And yeah, it was a boy's bike. I wasn't really keen on it. So everyone was like, you could have sold it. I was like, do you know what? I just wanted to prove that the manifestation worked to myself. That was enough of a win for me. I kept the 50 quid, obviously. So it was like, my cup runneth over. I'm going to give these to people who I think would appreciate these gifts or need these gifts. And I did. And I was really, really chuffed with myself, because I was like, right, so it's about setting my intention. It was about putting this combo of things together, and it worked out, and I was very happy.
I'm so like proud of 16-year-old Jay. What a good person.
Ah, that's all
My
right.
cup overflowed. I just gave away my gifts. I was like, let's get this shit on eBay, bruv. Hey, 20 quid.
No, everyone did tell me how silly I was for giving away this bike, but I gave it to my friend Michael. Shout out, Michael. But no, I was happy to give away the bike. Really happy to. And what else? Ah, yes. So I find this is really, really strange. So I'd been headhunted into a new job, and I was really, really struggling. It was just such long hours, and it was horrible. And this was later. This was like I was 25, I think. This is really when I started to get back into like manifesting again, and I was saying mantras daily to help get me through the stress that was work. And I thought, well, why am I just trying to get through the stress? Why am I not also manifesting a situation?
Mm-hmm.
And I asked myself, what do I actually want? And I said the role I wanted, and I kind of had a giggle to myself. I wanted a job in a mental health charity doing digital work, because I work in tech, and so because I want to understand more about mental health, and this will be a good gateway into it. And also, I only want to work 4 days a week. And I had a great laugh to myself, because I thought, that's so specific, like nothing's going to come up. So I did more of the manifesting, and then one day I just thought, do you know what? Search for that job. And I did. And one job came up. I applied. I got a call back straight away. I was in interview Wednesday, called back for the second interview Friday, and by the next following Wednesday, I got the job.
Babe.
And it was specifically in mental health, in tech, 4 days a week. And I was so specific about what I wanted, and I got it within like a week of setting this goal up in my head. And it was the only job that came up on the whole internet. It was in the location I wanted, everything. And do you know what? It was really great that I got that.
Mm-hmm.
But the be careful what you wish for came, where ironically it wasn't the most mentally supportive environment I've ever been in my life. It ripped me to shreds. I think this is when I probably first met you, that I was still in this job. And it was absolutely driving me insane. Like I just didn't really like the management, and it felt a bit cliquey in there, and they were serving a whole demographic of people that really didn't include us. You know, it just got to a point where I was just like, oh, well, you manifested it, but next time you have to be so specific about what you want, because you can't go dragging your mental health like this through the mud again. So on top of being intentional, I would say be very specific. Like, if you're manifesting a house, make sure you say what type of neighbours you want to live next to. If you're manifesting a car, manifest that it's going to be a good sturdy car that's in good nick for the next 10 years. Do you know, like, say what, and positively frame it. Don't say, oh, I want to manifest a car that doesn't break.
Yes, exactly.
The universe just heard, manifest car, break. That's what the universe just heard.
Exactly.
So yeah, intention, be specific, positive framing.
Yeah.
I hope that's enough examples for the time being. I probably do have a couple more. I think I'm being coy about my ability to manifest, because right now I'm in the same position of you, where I want some land so I can have some rescued farmyard animals, and my cat can run around on a grassy patch, and I can just feed myself my own healthy, fresh food.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't have to pay the government anything except for council tax. You know, that's what I'm manifesting, but that's a big ask, so that's probably why it's taking a bit of time.
Take a little bit of time. But you know what? This is what I think about this stuff when I'm stepping out of my why is it so hard? That what you're sometimes I think when you have that, you've said I want this thing. We've also heard that you've manifested enough competition winnings and all this other stuff, so you know it can work. And there's that part of you that isn't maybe ready yet for the small holding. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that you wouldn't be able to do it, but I'm saying kind of like emotionally to go, I am the Jay who is ready to have that and do that and that be my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like sometimes that can be a really frustrating aspect of manifestation, because you feel like once you kind of know how to do it, you should be able to hit everything you want. But I do think there's another aspect of readiness. Like, and I think that's really important. The things that I've wanted that I haven't had fall on my lap when I feel like they should have, I never would have been able to. No, at 20, for example, say if like I did get the call from like Steven Spielberg, like, hey Nick, like I don't think 20-year-old Nikki could have actually dealt with that situation, you know. And I think it's really important to kind of just understand that. And then there's an element where you can go, okay, so what do I need to do? So for me, for example, to get my small holding, there's one thing that that I think about quite a lot in regards to it. And I think, am I right now in the place in my life where I want to be doing that? Like this year, do I want to have a farm, for example?
If it landed on your lap tomorrow, would you be like, okay, yeah, sure?
I don't think I would. I mean, I would love to have a bit of land, but where I'm at in my life right now, I would want to be able to hire a gardener. Kind of thing.
That's very honest with yourself.
100%, and you have to be. And that isn't how I feel all the time. But in recent months, it's been like, I kind of, that isn't where my focus maybe needs to be. But ultimately, that's still like one of my goals.
You need to take care of yourself before you take care of some land.
And my little pygmy goats. Oh, I can't wait though, because I want to get a pygmy goat, I want to get a miniature horse, and I want to get a giant bunny. And I just think that would be the most amazing little farmyard. Everything just the opposite of what it should be. Okay, I'm ready, universe. Let's do it.
I'm looking forward to coming to see these farms. I do want miniature goats. I plan to call them Billy and Ramses.
Oh gosh, what am I going to call? Okay, I'm going to have to go off and think of some really good names. Oh, that's almost like, when you've got a friend and they're like, yeah, this is what I'm going to call my first kid. And you're like, for fuck's sake.
Oh,
that's what I should have said it first.
Dibs on Felicity, Persephone, Ambrose.
Oh, for God's sake. All right, okay. Okay, it's fine.
You can have dibs on Tarquin.
I don't know if I'm allowed that name. Everyone I say that to says like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I love the name Tarquin, guys. Okay, this is a bit off subject, but like, I kind of want an opinion poll on this. I love the name Tarquin. I don't know if this is like some
God.
throwback, like past life type
Okay,
thing.
so we're asking you, dear listener, is Nikki allowed to call her firstborn son Tarquin? Yes or no? I think we're gonna have to replay this as a vote on Instagram.
I think you should,
Sure.
like, because okay, he would be cool. It's Tarquin. My partner right now, his last name's Thomas, so
Right.
Tarquin Thomas is a sick. I just think that's a sick name. And then,
He sounds like a supervillain.
oh,
I did not mean that. No, I did not mean that. I'm so
literally,
sorry at how crusty
not
that is.
one person in my life says yes to this. I don't understand.
Do you know what? I'm going to support you out of pure love.
No, babe, don't.
You love that name, Tarquin
babe,
Thomas.
True friendship is saying, do you want your child to go through life with that name? Nikki, like, come on, this is your child. It's not about you. That's true friendship, Jay.
Well, what are the middle names?
I don't know. I haven't got that far yet.
No, but names. I don't think you should like be too hard about people like what they want to name their kids, because unless you're like, if you were to call your kid Pepsi, then I'd be like, okay, I have questions.
Okay, well that's not going to happen. Tarquin Pepsi Thomas. Oh. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Manifestation.
Oh god.
What have been some examples of you manifesting?
Okay, so like you, I think I, in one way, I'm quite good at manifesting, but it's kind of, I think, quite subconscious, and in another way, terrible. So, oh gosh, even saying these words now, I'm like, I shouldn't be saying this. I'm manifesting, terrible manifesting. But like I said, because I suffer from depression and anxiety, like day to day can be really difficult. So being in charge of like I was saying, that inner voice that's maybe not talking to you very nicely is difficult for me. Like, and that I think is one of the major places that I trip up. But the things, I'm not good at manifesting money. I'm just gonna be honest with you all right now. Like, if anyone has some tips where they can actually just be like, this is the fucking formula, let me know. But I'm good at manifesting opportunities and situations and people. Actually, I think I'm very good at manifesting people. And I think as well, that is probably more because of what I think is important. So this is another thing. I definitely have a money wound in my family, but I also think that there's a big element of me that doesn't think money is important. Like, it's not the most important thing. I want to have money. Let's not get that twisted. Yeah. I want to have a beautifully comfortable life, but it isn't something that I can really put my thoughts on in that way. So I will manifest the thing, and I won't necessarily think about the money. So I'll be like, okay, me and Jay want to do a podcast. Oh, how are we going to get paid for that? Don't know. Anyway, let's do the podcast. I'll manifest, lots of my spiritual things in my life have been manifested, I think. So like, when I first started kind of going into spiritual community, I really wanted a female teacher. Like, it was such a big deal, and that was like my main thing, that I was like, female teacher. And I kind of traveled around and met all these kind of men who, if you listen to our cult episode, you'll start to understand why I'm not into that. And I managed to manifest this woman who was literally just the most incredible woman, most incredible teacher, most incredible support. She taught me so much and helped me grow so much. And that relationship was 1,000% just manifested. I wanted an older female to support me in my spiritual journey, who could actually be quite motherly in the way that she is. And when I say motherly, I don't mean like, like cooking me dinner or whatever. I mean, like, who gives you that kind of mother's love, which is like really supportive, but also really fucking firm. And she's not going to let me just stand there and cry.
Yeah, spin your tires in a
exactly. She's going to be like, okay, you can cry it out, but fucking now go and do that action to change it. She was amazing. And then lots of kind of similar things like that, where I've manifested teachers like Emma, a beer mentor, which obviously then filters down to you. Like, with her, we've spoken about several times, like me and Jay were proper like knocking on that door, like, please let us in. But before I even knew who she was, like I discovered the word Abia. You know, I just was
Yeah.
trying to find out what this was, what this had meant. And it was crazy. It was like the moment that I decided that I wanted to learn it, all of a sudden the fucking internet opened up. It just went, okay. And then Emma comes up on Instagram,
Yeah.
and it's just like one of those random things where she didn't have very many followers at the time. And sometimes when you're on
Yeah.
social media, that can define whether or not you think someone's a pro, which, let's just tell you straight up,
Yeah.
it's not reflective of whether or not they're actually good at their job. But it was just like, there was
Yeah,
no
you don't
doubt. As
need
soon
them.
as I saw her page, I was like, this is who I was looking for. This is literally who I have been looking for. And like
Yeah.
I said to you before, I also, at the same time, was looking for a shamanic course, a Celtic shamanism course, and
Mm.
managed to just find that as well. And that was with somebody who I had been told about years and years ago,
Mm.
but for some reason had never come up when I'd done any of my Google searching or anything like that. And just this day that I was like, I'm doing the Abia, I'm going to do Celtic shamanism at the same fucking time. She just appeared. And it was like perfect.
Yeah.
And she also is she has a really great example of what you were talking about, that when you need to be specific about your manifestation. And this is I think,
Yeah.
the most important thing. It also just supports your intentionality if you're really specific. So she has this beautiful little kind of semi-detached cottage with this gorgeous little land, and she's got like her lodge and all that kind of stuff on it.
Mm.
When I spoke to her about it, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. What a beautiful place. And she went, oh, well, yeah, I manifested this. I manifested this 20 years ago. But I tell you what I didn't do. I didn't make sure I had the right neighbours, because she's on one side of her. And it was so funny to her say it. Like, on one side of her is like a pheasant. They raise pheasants for shooting. So you might be there sometimes
Oh,
and you can hear them shooting the birds. Obviously, for a shaman, that's like, we don't want that energy around.
that's
And I know.
horrid.
And then the people, obviously the house was semi-detached, the neighbours she used to have, she managed to manifest herself some better neighbours who are
Yeah.
now like her best friends, but who she used to have just thought she was a fucking weirdo. Do you know what I mean? Banging drums and like
Yeah.
talking to birds and stuff. So it was like, and I've had that as well with the house that me and my partner used to live in. It was like, our whole thing was about getting a house that was going to, make money, which is what we have to kind of do as
Yeah.
millennials, right? And
Yeah.
that was all we thought about. And we didn't think about really like what it was going to be like for us to live in that area, or the kind of neighbours that we would
Yeah.
have and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't really like who we were living around, because we were very different kind of people. And it's all things
Yeah.
like that. I think when you start to practice manifestation, you start to realise how important it is, like you said, to be specific. The most important thing, I think, and
Yeah.
present.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And I have a story on the back of like why it's important you're specific as well. Now this one's very very recent. I have my cat with me, and I've been working at home all through the lockdown pretty much, and it was just getting to a point where I was like, oh, I'm here by myself every single day. My partner works from like 7 till 7 every day, 6 days a week. It's like I need someone here to keep me company. I need a cat. I really need a cat. Oh, but we're not allowed a cat. Where am I going to get a cat? How am I going to get a cat? When's the cat? It was just cat, cat, cat. That was like my thought for like a couple of weeks solid. And then I get a call from my mum saying that my childhood cat, um, Fox, she's sick. She's very sick. She's got some lumps on her, and we took her to the vet, and she had like a cancer scare, and she was the sickest I've ever seen her. She's 15 years old, so I was just like in tears. Um, my auntie had passed away just like a week before. It was the same week. So the same week my auntie had passed away, and then my cat just got so sick, and I genuinely thought she was going to die because they were testing her. Nothing was coming back in her blood, in her pee, but they were convinced she had some cancer that needed a biopsy. And then they did a biopsy on it, and it's like there's no cancer. So what are these lumps? We don't know. How often do these people freaking know anything? Healthcare. That was another episode. Listen to the womb episode if you haven't already. So I took her home, and I sort of come to the conclusion that I'd manifested this sickness in the cat to bring her to me, because my mum wasn't able to give her medicines after we took her from the vet. I needed to be there round the clock to give her medicine, so I thought I'm going to bring her home. And I felt really guilty because I felt like I unintentionally manifested my cat into my house. And she's much better now. She's so cheeky. She's really naughty. She gets me up at 6 a.m. every day without fail. And I absolutely love the fact that she's here.
Babe,
she's a real sweetheart.
I don't think you manifested that. I think Foxy manifested that. She made some decisions. She just grew those lumps.
She's
just
like,
for 5
right,
minutes.
I need food round the clock, only wet food now. She's only allowed wet food now, so I need food around the clock, wet food, treats whenever I want, rubs whenever I want. I know where I'm going to go.
Look, if we can all manifest an end of life like Foxy's, we're going to be living nice. That's all I'm saying. Like,
I know, she's really spoiled, guys. I sort of look at her and I say to my partner, like, I honestly don't know how I'm going to deal with a toddler because I can't say no to a cat. I can't say no to a cat.
Oh, I can't wait for this. It's going to be fun to watch. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no.
But no, we spoke about this. Okay, again, guys, listen to our animal communication episode.
Yeah. Listen to
because
it.
I feel like Foxy deserves everything that she's being given. I don't think she's spoiled. And I do think when you have kids, you'll treat them much harsher than you've ever treated your cat. I just feel like...
I want a balance. I want like a firm, loving energy, but also like, no, we don't hit. I will not allow you to hit. That is not going to happen. And if you do it again, we're going to be discussing this again. No, I don't know what's going to happen.
It's going to be a ride. That's what it's going to be. A ride. It's going to be a fun, beautiful, evolutionary ride. Gosh, let's not think too much about it. I'm the same as you. I'm just like, oh my gosh, if this is how I treat JJ, my doggy, the kid has no chance.
I'm gonna be one of those parents that gets like laughed at in Tesco because the kid's just like having a tantrum, and they're like, we don't do that in public.
I just want to do a shout out now for all those mums who are on the bus or who are in Tesco's and your 3-year-old, 5 or 10-year-old is screaming their lungs out and just like going mental. It's cool. I just want to say I'm supporting you to just ignore the kid or do whatever you got to do because that's what kids do. And I always feel really bad. I feel so bad whenever I'm out and then there's a toddler having a shit fit and their parent looks so embarrassed. And then sometimes you see people judging them. I'm like, bruv, you need to not judge like that at all.
No.
Like, because that is...
What are you meant to do with a 2-year-old? You can't hit a 2-year-old. You shouldn't be hitting children. End of. Like...
I think the best thing to do is just ignore them. I don't know. I'm not going to be allowed to have children, am I?
I don't know.
Just put them in the corner and ignore
I'm just going to ignore them when they shout. I think there's a whole Montessori episode that we're definitely going to have in future when episode 200 of the podcast comes.
Yes.
And we're at that point in our lives.
Definitely. Oh, I'm very interested in that stuff. Anyway, manifestation, guys.
So
we're manifesting most amazing babies who are going to be so well behaved they won't have to do anything.
Much more well behaved than my cat.
Oh yeah, much more well behaved than we ever were. Basically, my kids are going to come out meditating and floating. I'm not even inspiring them. Sorry.
Yeah, talking about their past
lives.
Mother, I remember this.
Like leading me to buried treasure, all that kind of shit. That's why they're being born.
This is where I was buried with all of my jewels. No one's ever found my body.
Exactly.
That child is what I'm manifesting.
So, guys, if you came here for something serious, you're in the wrong place.
You're in the wrong place, like severely in the wrong place. But yeah, be careful what you wish for. I wish for a cat. I wasn't specific. And then I ended up getting my cat sick. I strongly believe I did that. I strongly believe, because I was already in that place, because my auntie had died. I tend to suffer with seasonal affective disorder anyway, so tend to be very depressed from about October, November, right through to about February. It's like a whole chunk of my year where I'm constantly having to like put things in place so the depression doesn't set in. So I feel like I was already in that emotional place, and it's just like, yeah, cat sick, from a distance, Reiki illness, but now she's with me, and that's good because I'm really glad that I get to spend hopefully the next 15 years with her. She's 15. I don't know. My partner's cat lived to 21, so I'm hoping she reaches 21
Totally. She totally has that in her. I think with the way that you treat
with
her,
good health.
with good health,
Yeah,
seriously,
with good
good
health.
health,
Let's manifest specifically.
100%. And I don't know. I just think you are such a excuse me, a wonderful cat mummy. You're giving her everything
Oh,
she
thank
needs,
you.
and I think that is going to definitely mean that she is going to be a super 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 old cat. Like, I know people who've
Yeah.
had cats till like in their
Wise.
20s as well.
Yeah.
But oh, Foxy, I want to come and see her.
Yeah. You'll have to come round sometime.
So are there any people who teach manifestation that you follow that you would recommend?
Yeah. Oh my God. This podcast by a guy called Joseph
Okay.
Rodriguez, and he kind of goes through all of the different books and schools of thought on manifestation. So he'll talk about like quantum jumping. He'll talk about like think and grow rich. Um, general law of attraction stuff, and it's generally to do with like entrepreneurship, business, and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like with a lot of these types of things, if you have the right brain for it, you can pick out what is relevant to what you're doing in your life. If you're not particularly an entrepreneur, I still feel like you're going to pick up really useful stuff from him. Because he really does talk about how entrepreneurship is about what you're doing is creating a value. You're creating a value, and people are attracted to the value, because you're putting your faith into the fact that people are attracted to the value you're creating. And I'm not talking about value like low price. I'm talking about like, are you creating something that's valuable to humankind that's actually going to be useful to other people?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really like pertinent. He talks about manifestation. I think he's really good. He focuses on the sort of like, I don't know, the money being manual, being hand part of manifestation, where you're having to do things in order to move this energy in your life, because that's all manifestation is. It's a movement of energy. You can't create energy from nothing. You are not a god. You are part of the god body, but you are not a god. So what you're looking to do with manifestation is move that energy. And Joseph Rodriguez, I think he just has such direction in terms of how to do that. How about you?
Okay, I'm gonna go and look him up. Podcast. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, 30-minute episodes, nice and
Love that.
short. Like, I just take them on my walks in the morning, and I feel like, yeah, I can take the day. It's really
I need
good.
some of that in my life. All right, Jez Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Well, I actually started. I think my manifestation journey started with, I think like all of us, probably The Secret. But then I did read Think and Grow
Yeah.
Rich, which I think I should read again. Um,
Yeah.
and Abraham Hicks. So I don't know if you know Abraham Hicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they or she, Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham, I think was the first kind of,
Yeah.
and you have to think about when I'm talking about 15 plus years ago that I'm starting to look into this stuff. YouTube was great, but it was much more limited than what it was now. And they were one of the only
Yeah.
kind of people on there talking about this stuff. The way they talk about it is very, very, I think, very interesting. I think it actually speaks to a lot of people. Sometimes, in my older age, I'm finding it a little bit cheesy, but that doesn't take away from the reality of what the message is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have
Yeah.
these really interesting concepts, like it's all about being in a vortex, or the vortex they call it, which I guess is the vortex of creation. I don't want to go too deep into it
Yeah.
because I feel like I'll butcher their teachings. Just go and find them on YouTube. But it's that same kind of place where if you're kind of settled in the center of you, then you can essentially tune into the vibration that you want to tune into. And I find that really, really interesting. Also, that she's channeling this information is quite interesting to watch
Yeah.
if you're open to that kind of thing. Who else? There was someone else that I was thinking about before we started doing this, and then my brain isn't letting me know who. Esther Hicks.
I did, Esther Hicks. I do kind of want to point as well to that sort of the calmness, because Joseph Rodriguez talks all the time about it's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about in the moment, like understanding what they're teaching you, feeling them, experiencing as you feel. So you have the space, you have the mental freedom to be able to like be generally peaceful in your day to day and manifest from a place of peace. And I think that's brilliant, because I think you see a lot of teachers who will mistakenly say, oh, you shouldn't be having these negative thoughts. It's like, well, if someone does something to you at the time and you are feeling angry, you're allowed to feel angry, but it's also probably good to recognize that you are feeling angry, like observe the anger, like, I am feeling angry. Because when you think I'm feeling angry, what you can start to do a line of inquiry with yourself, like, why is this making me feel angry? Oh, it's because I'm not putting up a boundary safely and kindly right now, where I should. Like, actually, I would not like you to talk to me like that. I would need you to talk to me in a more cordial manner. Whatever, being able to de-escalate in the situation. That's why you're feeling angry, because you're creating the war within yourself. 1 second. Yeah, so it's about going into yourself and feeling in the moment, so you have this this space clear. Because when you don't respectfully confront someone else, you create a wall within yourself. And that messes up manifestation, because if you're in this constantly like down mood, it's a really difficult place to manifest from. You can end up manifesting a lot of problems with the positive thing you're trying to manifest. And I've seen this happen with family members who have been like down in the dumps, and something good has come their way, but then it's come with like a million other bad things, because not even because they're not just being specific, because they're just not in a great place.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, so don't pressure yourself to be getting it right all the time. I think one text that we haven't actually mentioned, which I think is really important to mention, is the Kybalion.
The Kybalion. How could we end this episode and not have spoken about the Kybalion?
Yeah.
We would have had to have re-recorded from scratch.
We would have just chucked them in the bin. And then from the Kybalion, I would recommend actually to anyone who, if you're enjoying our podcast and you regularly listen and you're interested in these subjects, reading that book, it's very short. Like reading that book, I think would give you a really great understanding of lots of the things that we talk about. There's also another
where we're
coming from, and there's also another book or set of books that I would also very much recommend. I haven't got through them all myself yet. I keep on kind of having to restart. They're very heavy, but very like information dense in the best possible way. They're called Reality Transurfing. I can't remember who it's by, Vladimir something, about reality transurfing. And it's essentially like a deeper take, or like a more kind of modern take on the Kybalion and the rules of the Kybalion, and how to actually integrate those rules and use it. And they call it reality transurfing, which again I think is an interesting tool, because it speaks of the connection you have with the realities that you're living in, and how to kind of have an aspect of control over that. The Kybalion.
That's really good.
I've sent it to you, babe. I've sent it to you for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I constantly send Joe ebooks. I'm just
Okay.
like, read this.
Yeah.
But it is, I think that's like a set of 6 books. That's a commitment, those ones.
Yeah.
But with the Kybalion, it's all, and I think we've spoken about like the first law, all is mind. And I feel like that is
all is mental.
Exactly a really important place to start with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The Kybalion is basically the rules of the natural living world, natural living human world, and consciousness, how we can tap into universal consciousness and understand these rules to manifest what we want to bring about. And yeah, one of the rules is all is mental. Everything starts in the mind, which seemed like an airy fairy concept years ago, but as we're starting to see science catch up. When we're talking about fields of like neuroimmunoendocrinology, when they're talking about the psychoneuroimmunoendocrinology, when they're talking about how the mind can actually affect the body and manifest illness through the mind. I think that's like a very scientific and real example of how the mind can actually cause certain genes to trigger and bring about certain illnesses that you're already predisposed to, but you weren't necessarily guaranteed to get unless this specific set of stressors came into play.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, it's so real, guys. It's just so real. It really is.
Yes, read that and get back to us. I want to say your thing. I think now is as good a time as any to maybe wrap up.
Yeah,
I love it when you say that.
definitely. You get to say it today, and I would like to put in a specially request today. If you haven't already reviewed this show, please, there's like a little star on Anchor and Spotify where you can click. Please do 5 stars. That would be fabulous. Please, if you can, share this with people, like either on your WhatsApp, like personally, like 2 people, or put it on your Instagram, and let the world know what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily need to be for this episode. It can be if it resonated with you. We've also got episodes on womb magic, on animal communication, on conspiracy theory. I think we tend to talk a lot. I mean, you're already here with us. We talk a lot about different kinds of topics within the general spiritual sphere,
Mm-hmm.
and we're looking to grow this community, and we're incredibly grateful for having you here. And if you can let everyone know how much you're enjoying this, then that just helps all of us find the others just that little bit more.
Exactly. We are building the tribe. So, like Jay said, be in touch, pass it on. And yeah, just thank you so much for being here with us today, dear listener.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, you beautiful, beautiful being of the multiverse. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.